you've tried everything possible to get the funding that you need to study abroad, and now you're wondering, what else do I need to do? There's one more thing you can do. You can get a sponsorship letter from your friends, from your family members, and use that as part of your proof of funds. So you get your visa application approved. Now, I shared a video recently about sponsorship letters and all that you need to know. And I know you have questions. You have a ton of questions about sponsorship letters. Do they really work? And so in today's video, I'll answer all those questions. I'll share more information about sponsorship letters. And at the end of this video, my hope is that you have all the confidence that you need to go get a sponsorship letter and make your dream of going abroad to study a reality. What's up, my friend? So I will link below the video that I did recently, or a couple of videos about sponsorship letters, for you to get all the gist about what sponsorship letters are. But summary is, if you've tried every other funding option possible and you still don't have what you need for your proof of funds, you can get a family member or a friend to write you a very simple sponsorship letter and attach their bank statements, and you can share that with your school and use that for your visa application. So I shared all about sponsorship letters, what that letter looks like, in one of those videos. I'll put the link in the description. So I got a lot of questions from you about how this will work and your specific situation and circumstance. So I'll go through those questions now and try to answer them. For those of you that have not watched that video, you know that I got sponsorship letters from my friends, from close friends, when I was going to when I was coming to the US to study 6 years ago. So I do have very good experience about sponsorship letters. So let's get into it and I'll begin to answer your questions. All right, grab your tea, coffee, your pen and paper, and let's get. Okay, first question is, I am worried about using funds from a sponsor and loans alone, because it seems a lot of people are not getting visas with them, and I wish I had some funding, no matter how small, and I can add a sponsorship letter to it. So I get this concern a lot. A lot of people are like, if I get a sponsorship letter and I use that, I'm seeing that a lot of people are not getting their visa approved. So first thing is, I understand, this concern is valid, because visa applications these days, it's just gone wild, and you don't really know why people are not getting their student visa approved. So I understand your concern, but I'll say I used sponsorship letters. I got my visa approved 6 years ago. It was like straightforward for me, but I do know a lot of things have changed since then. Now, that said, this concern is valid, but sponsorship letters, using sponsorship letters by themselves is not the reason is likely not the reason someone's student visa will be declined or will not be approved. There's so many other things that could cause your visa application to be denied, and I'll do a separate video on why your visa application could be denied. But getting a sponsorship letter is not the reason. Like, the fact that a visa officer or someone reviewing your visa application sees that you have a sponsorship letter, then they will deny your visa. That is not the case. There's so many other things happening, but if you're not comfortable, totally up to you. But my question to you is, do you have any other option? Do you have any other thing, any other way you can get your proof of funds that you need? If the answer is no, then there's no harm in trying. I used 2 sponsorship letters, and I used a combination of sponsorship letters. I got significant student loans. I got very good scholarships. I did a 200k MBA 6 years ago, and I used all these things and went for my visa interview, and my visa was approved. So again, this cannot be the single reason why your visa was denied or will be denied. So please try to get these sponsorship letters if you don't have any other option, and let's see what happens, okay? And I'll do a video just sharing more about visa applications and visa interview questions and things like that. One question is, I got an admission to a school in the US, and I have a sponsor, but in real terms, I don't have any money for the tuition and fees. And how can I apply for a loan and things like that? So Now, what this person is talking about, one of the things that I shared in those videos about sponsorship letters, again, I will link them in the description so you can watch them after this one. But one of the things that I shared is that your sponsor doesn't really need to give you the cash. So they write a letter that they will sponsor you up to a specific amount. But the truth is, in reality, once you get your visa approved, your sponsor doesn't really need to give you anything. All they needed to do was give you that letter. My sponsors never gave me a dime. Like, they don't even remember they gave me that letter, but they did. So I'll tell you, they don't need to give you anything. They just need to write that letter. So this person is asking that, this person is saying they have a sponsor, but the truth is they don't have the dollars. Now, that's the tricky thing. Because your sponsors don't really need, like, the US is not checking that this person actually give Douyin the $50,000 they wrote in the letter. Nobody's checking for that. Now, because your sponsor doesn't really need to give you the dollars, you need to find a way to still get the dollars that you need to fund your education. So what I recommend is, of course, apply for student loans if that's something you're open to. If you don't have a co-signer, you can check out Prodigy Finance and Empower Finance. I've done a ton of videos about those loan options. You can also check out Lendwise and Quorum Federal Credit Union. I'll link some videos in the description about student loans. I have too many videos now about student loan options for international students. So explore loans, but I'll also say explore jobs that you can do while studying. So one of those is GATARA positions. I'll share videos in the description for you to go check out how to get a GA position easily. And then another one is jobs you can do that are not like TARA positions, and I just did a video about that one. I'll link it as well, like different things you can explore to make money, to get the extra cash that you need for your living expenses, for your tuition while you study. So that's my recommendation. Apply to loans, get a GA or try to get a GA position, and explore jobs that you can do as a student. Okay, the next question is, can the same firm or company that gave me the postgraduate employment letter for loan application that was approved also write a sponsorship letter? I'm not sure I fully understand this question, but my understanding is that you are asking the company that gave you some sort of postgraduate employment letter that you used for your loan application, can they also write you a sponsorship letter that you will take to for your visa, right? The answer is it depends. So for a sponsorship letter, a person needs to write it, and it can be a firm, but they need to show their bank statement. So if that person, that your former boss or that your company or firm is willing to provide a bank statement, then you're fine. Whether they provided that document for your loan application or not, it doesn't matter, because the loan process is very separate from the visa application process. So you can totally use the same set of people or the same company or the same bank statement for. Okay, next question is, what if the school you're planning to go to needs to show proof of funds of 50K and I have funds of 47K? Can I get the remaining 3K using a sponsorship letter? Would I have to show and mention a sponsorship of 3K during the visa interview? So this person is asking for about the US student visa interview process, right? So if you're applying to the US for an F1 visa, that's the student visa, you will need to do a visa interview. And this person is essentially asking, if I need to show proof of funds of 50K, I already have 47K, and I get someone to write me a letter saying they will sponsor me for up to 3K, do I need to mention it during the interview? Listen, you are not in control of the interview. The visa officer in front of you is responsible for that interview. They are the ones that ask all the questions, and trust me, they don't ask more than 2-3 questions, which is weird, but they are the ones that ask all the questions. So they may choose to ask you, what's this 3K, who is the person sponsoring you, and you just share with them, that's my uncle, he's willing to support me for up to 3K to when I go to study, something like that. Simple, short, right? But you don't need to mention anything, but they will ask you. They can ask you, what is this 3K I'm seeing on your I-20? They can ask you, how do you plan to fund your education? And you can say, I plan to mostly fund my education using a combination of scholarships and loans, or using a combination of scholarships and my personal savings, and a tiny bit through my uncle's sponsorship. That's it. That's all you need to do. So you don't need to mention it, but they may ask you during the interview. This is a good question. If the sponsorship letter is from a relative in the country you're planning to go to, that's say USA or UK or Canada, could your visa be denied? It sort of shows ties to a residence, right? Okay, this is a good question, and I know a question that so many of you have. Truth is, the moment you apply for a visa, the consular officer, the consulate, the visa interviewer, whoever it is, knows whether or not you have a relative in that country. Usually there are so many ways they can track your last name and the person's last name, or their previous last name, and they will ask you. And you know, if you are most people don't lie on a visa application form. They will ask you, do you have any family members in the US? Do you have a family member in Canada? That, right? Do you have a family member? Do you have a relative in Canada? Do you have this in Canada? Do you have that in the US? So before you, like the moment you apply for a visa, they have a way of checking if you have a relative. So it is not the sponsorship letter that tells them you have a relative. It is the fact that they know that you have a relative. So if having a relative in the US will make them deny your visa application, then they will do it whether or not you get a sponsorship letter. So I just want to make sure you're clear on that these countries have systems, because your sister, when she was applying, or your brother, or whoever you have in the US, when they were applying for their green card, do you know how many questions they ask when you're applying for your green card? They ask about your father, your grandfather that's late or dead or that died years ago. They ask about your mother's side, your siblings. They ask about everything about you. So it is not your sponsorship letter that tells them you have ties. It is the fact that they know you have ties, because when your sibling was applying for residency in that country, they listed you already. They likely did, right? So they have many ways of knowing that you have ties. It's not the sponsorship letter. So your job during the interview is to show them that you do not have any immigrant intent. And I'll share a video I did recently on that, so you can watch how to answer questions, or how to package your application such that you show them you don't have immigrant intent, whether you have a sister abroad or not. My sister applied to the US. I wrote a sponsorship letter, and I live here. They knew before she stepped there that she was my sister, and she's here today. So don't be worried about that. One more question is, if I have Empower Finance student loan to cover my tuition and living expenses over the course of the year, then will I require any sponsorship letter from family, friends, and relatives, or just in case of repayments or of loan or secondary sponsor? Okay, I think I get what this person is asking. I have a loan from Empower Finance that would cover my tuition and living expenses. Do I still need a sponsorship letter? Answer is no, you don't need a sponsorship letter. All you need to show for your visa is proof of funds. If you already have the funds covered in another way, whether that's through loans, whether that's through scholarships, whether that's through your personal savings, then you don't need a sponsorship letter. All right, that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. But more importantly, I do know you may still have questions, and I've been there, done that. I've been through this process. I know how difficult it is to get all that you need to fund your education. So if you still have questions about sponsorship letters and funding and all of that, put in the comments. I'll see your questions and I'll try to answer them. And I'm really here rooting for you, and I hope that I can help you in every way possible. And I'll see you in my next video.